Okay, folks, in this video, it's basically just a quick recap of the pen tool as well as your selection tools. Okay, so hopefully by now you folks are starting to get the hang of the pen tool. If not, keep practicing. So, if you folks want some other items to practice with, I recommend opening up a file. So, I'm going to go File, New. I'm just going to be using the 8 by 10 in portrait mode or landscape. Sorry, this is portrait mode, landscape mode. Hit create to bring up a blank artboard, and I want to bring in the Coca-Cola GIF. That's from, if you folks saw my first uh, pen tool videos, that's from the transformation and pen folder here on the class website. Right here, transformation and pen, under the download section of the Illustrator site. Go to downloads, transformation pen .zip. You get the three files: the pen tool, which you folks probably have seen before, the transforming bear, and the Coke. Okay, so we're going to deal with the Coke one now. Hopefully you folks have enough experience with the pen tool where you can use this. If not, this will be also a great way for you folks to practice. So what you folks can do is you can bring in any picture into Illustrator to trace over. Now in this video I'm going to use a little bit of the layer system, even though I'm going to make a separate layer video. Just follow along if you folks want to do this exercise. So I'm going to drag the Coke GIF from inside the folder straight into Illustrator. Okay, so I'm going to drag and drop it. As you can see here, the Coca-Cola GIF is way larger than my artboard. So I want to bring down the size of it. So I'm going to zoom out by holding down Command, Control for you PC guys, and hitting the minus button. Then I'm going to grab one corner, grab a corner of the control handle on the corner and resize it down. Hold Shift while you're doing it so you constrain the proportions. Make sure it doesn't get lopsided. And I'm going to do it one more time. Hold down Shift, click the corner, and drag until you get it smaller than the artboard. Okay, that should be good enough. Now I'm going to hit Command plus to zoom back in. Alright, so we got the Coca-Cola there. What we're going to do is we're going to trace it. Now I want to create a separate layer to trace over the original. See, right now on the original layer we have the Coke GIF. I want to use that as a template. So I'm going to lock this layer by clicking on the empty box next to layer 1. And if I try to select it now, you notice my cursor has that icon that says I can't do nothing because the layer is locked. That's good because I don't want to mess with this layer. I don't want to move it or draw over it. Instead, I'm going to come and create a new layer using the create a new layer icon. Click on it. Now we got layer 2, and that's the layer we're going to draw on. So clicking on your pen tool to activate it, I got a black stroke and a white fill. Now while you're tracing, you don't really want to have a fill, because if you start tracing and you got a fill, the fill might get in the way of your trace and you're gonna have a hard time because it's blocking everything. Okay, so while you're tracing, what you want to do is have no color. And remember, you can do that up here too. You can come up here, or you can click here, then click here, whichever way you want to go. Also, you could you could change your stroke color to whatever you want, here or here or here. I'm going to stick with black. And don't be afraid to zoom in, folks. Remember, you guys can always zoom in, Command plus, to really get in there. And I'm going to start here in the corner. And remember, just to follow along. Now that might be difficult for you folks to see, so I'm going to change my stroke color to green, like a fluorescent green. Well, that green should be okay. Now I'm just outlining the red portion. The stroke is still too thin, so I'm going to change my stroke to about a 3-point. Let's see if that works. There, that's more like it. At least you folks should be able to see it now. Remember, while you're drawing, you see over here, like I got a little bit black showing. I'm only tracing the red portion, not the black, right? So if I want to tighten up this curve here while I'm drawing, hold down the Command key, Control key if you're on a PC, to temporarily activate your white arrow or direct select tool. Grab this handle and shorten it up a bit, or until you have your angle that where you want it to be. Then continue on, like so, and just take your time, folks. And remember this general rule as you're drawing: the less anchor points you create, the smoother your curve will be. Right now, my curve may look smooth, but because of this extra anchor point I put here, it's a little bit, kind of comes at a little angle here, then down. So what I may want to do is undo twice, hold down the Command key to activate my direct select tool, move this anchor point over a little bit, like so. Now try, instead of putting one up here, an anchor point up here and one down here, I'm going to go try and put one right here, and just left mouse click and drag and pull out. That'll work. And then come down here, left mouse click, drag and pull. Yeah, that looks a little sloppy, so let me come down to right here and try that again. Yeah, that's a little bit cleaner. Come down here. As you're drawing, if you gotta move the canvas, you can hold down your space bar and you'll temporarily get that hand to move. Left mouse click and drag. As soon as you let go of the space bar, you're back on drawing again. So come to the middle here, draw out, and just keep following all the way through. Like so. Now this is a little bit sloppy. I'm kind of going really quickly, so that you folks aren't bored watching me just draw out a letter. But what I've just shown you is basically the method you're going to use when you go from your sketch that I'm having you folks do for your assignment. After you scan it in, you folks will have a JPEG of it. And what you folks will do is open up your document in Photoshop, drag and drop your sketch into no, I'm sorry. After you have your JPEG, your scanned image of your character, if you want, you folks can open up a document in Illustrator, drag and drop your character design or whatever into Illustrator, use it as a template to draw out your character. Okay. Now you don't have to do that, but if you folks basically could sketch your whole illustration out on paper first, scan it, drag and drop the JPEG into Illustrator and save it, not save it, but put it on a layer and lock the layer and use that as the template and trace over it. That might be a little bit easier for you folks than just trying to draw something from scratch off the top of your head, right? So I would recommend doing that. Okay. Now after you get your letter all nice and where you want it to be, say if I wanted to fill this in with green instead. I already have the stroke, but say if I didn't want the stroke line, I just wanted the fill, I could just swap the colors here, and now I have a green fill. Of course, I would have to tweak the anchor points a little bit to get a little bit better than what it is now, but you folks more or less get the gist of it, right? So that's how I would do that. Now if I wanted to get the black, what I could do is make a copy of the green, right? Hold down the Option key, click anywhere on the green part and drag another part out. But instead of this being green, I would select the fill and choose black, like so. But I would have to send it to the back, and I'm kind of jumping ahead, which I don't really want to do because you guys are still learning the pen tool, but I guess I could show you folks really quickly and go over it again once we come to that part. You can always right click on it, go to Arrange, and send backward, and there you go. The black is there in the back. If I move it all the way out, I can move it here. So I'm going to show you folks that later, and that's probably going to be part of the layers video, which is going to come way after I do all of the tools. But that was just a quick way of showing you folks how to make the shadow for the Coca-Cola. It's basically taking a shape, same shape, duplicating it, changing it to black, and then hiding it behind your original shape or whatnot. Okay, folks? So you guys can practice using this picture or whatever picture you want to use. I just chose this picture because it has a whole bunch of curves. Okay? When you get to something like this, where obviously the sea is looping around, you have to think a little bit. You're doing the outline of the image. So instead of trying to draw from here, coming down here and around, what you would actually do is, maybe you start at this end, you draw your shape here, your curves, come over here, and then you come out here, then here, all the way out there. And then this would actually be like a separate shape, and you would fill that shape with white. So you're kind of implying that it's empty, but yeah, you know what? I'll just do it right now. A lot easier to show you folks rather than talk about it. Okay, so let's go with green again. Oh, I have the other shapes still selected. So let me click off of that. I'm going to make another layer for this new shape. And let's go with no fill for now so I can see where the line is going. And I'm going to change the stroke to a green stroke again. And I'm going to start from here with the pen tool. Click right here. And I'm going to go real fast, so it's going to be sloppy, but you folks will get the gist of it. I don't want to take too long trying to make things perfect and you folks get bored. More bored than you folks probably already are watching these videos, so I don't mind the sloppiness. I do want you folks to actually take your time when you're actually doing this, okay? For the demonstration purposes though, I'm gonna go a lot faster. Okay, once I come up here, I just click once and then come down here, hold down the command key and move this in a little. There you go. Hold on the command key and bring this in a little. So you're going on the outside rather than trying to actually make the actual loop or the squiggly line here. You're just doing the outside shape of it. And once again, I'm going really fast, so I'm not really tracing that well, but at least you folks will get the gist of what I'm trying to do. There you go. Okay, and I could always come back and edit with the direct select tool, like so. Remember, you can always use the arrow keys too. Select your anchor point and use the arrow keys to fine tune. If you're finding that the trying to move it by using your mouse is too much, like it snaps too far, use your arrow keys instead. Okay, so that should be okay for now. Remember, I'm not trying to be too you know. I'm not trying to get it that perfect. Okay, so wait, one more. There. Now you folks may be wondering, so how do I take care of this part here? Because if I fill it with green now by switching the colors, see that part is, well, one way to do that, you can make another layer and using your pen tool, trace out this right here. That is horrible. Let me redo that. That's the thing with these odd shapes. Sometimes you have to do multiple anchor points to really get it nice. Okay, so now if I switch and it's close enough. Okay, now I'm gonna change my fill color to white. Okay, now that I have it white, if I select my previous what do you call my previous lines here, and switch it from a green stroke to a fill, you notice that the white I just drew fills in that spot. It's kind of, a way of getting around cutting out the shape. There is a way to cut out the shape that I'll show you folks later, but this is just another method, and a method that a lot of folks do use because they don't want to mess with cutting out the shapes, right? They rather just draw in a white to simulate that. So if I turn off the visibility by, with the eyeball here, so this layer has just this white fill here. If I turn off the visibility, that's what you get. So I just wanted to show you folks stuff like that as you draw out your Coca-Cola here. Now, last but not least, if you folks want to practice with your transformation tools or your selection tools, this is the transforming bear. Let me hit Command 0 to fit the whole image there. Now if you open up the arrow here on the side of the bear, you're going to see a group. Open up that arrow, and every shape that comprises the bear is listed here. So if you use your black arrow, the selection tool, you select pretty much all of the paths. But if you select using your white arrow, the direct select tool, you can select pretty much anything. Like, say for example, if you wanted to move the black away from his eyes, right? You can move the anchor points. So fool around with this a little bit, yeah? Now if you wanted to move a shape, if you tried to use the direct select tool, the selection tool, the black arrow, it's going to be difficult because, say if I wanted to move the black of his eye away, so I'm clicking on the black of his eye, but if I try to move it, I move everything. If you want to move, there's a way you can move just the black of his eye, but it would involve locking down, a lot of the items here except for the part that's his eyes. So one way to do that is to use your white selection tool, the direct select tool, choose one of the anchor points that comprise the path that makes his eye, like so. So now I have this anchor point out of all 4 selected. Now if you hit the V key, which is the hotkey for the black arrow, the selection tool, or you just click on the selection tool, as you can see, I now have this shape selected, and if I try to move it, everything moves. That's not supposed to happen. Let's try that again. Select that, I select that, and that key, that's the wrong one. That's why this can be tricky, folks. I'm going to switch back to this, the white arrow. There you go. So use the white arrow, I'm sorry, instead of the black arrow. Yeah, the white arrow direct select tool. That'll allow you to move items around. Let me try. But even moving certain items may be a little bit difficult. See, I was trying to move the white reflection there. Even the ear is made up of two shapes, right? So you have this shape right here, the light blue. You have this bigger shape here, and it's layered, right? It's layered so that you get the shape, but it's actually a circle. So I want you folks to fool around with these for a bit, and I will cover the transforming bear once more once we start dealing with layers. As you can see here, this is all, the layer system in effect. But I just wanted you folks to use your selection tools so that you can get the hang of using selection tools, of manipulating the anchor points of your selection. Using your selection tools so you can change the shapes or move the shapes around. Okay, so that should give you folks more than enough things to do for this week. And then starting next week, I'll probably jump into the shape tools. Okay, so keep practicing for this week, and hopefully I'll have some new videos up by the beginning of next week with using the shape tools. Okay, folks, so good luck with practicing, and as always, if you folks have any questions, feel free to email